Hey guys, it's Matty Hill here and welcome back to another breakdown build video powered by Sparesbox. If you want to check out any of the previous content on this build, you can find parts 1 and 2 discussing the motor and suspension breakdown on my YouTube channel. Today we will be introducing part 3, the cooling system, where we'll be discussing everything that keeps your motor running cool, the intercooler, the radiator and the oil cooler. Often these systems are overlooked in drift car builds or not given the attention they deserve. In each of my previous S15 platforms and other car builds that I've had as well, I've run many different cooling variations, thinner intercoolers, different radiators and different oil coolers. Fast forward to today, after years of experience and years of testing, I now understand that this area of the car is actually really important when building a car that performs reliably. So let's first talk about location and placement. With street cars, there are some limitations depending on the vehicle, such as engine bay size, space in the front of the car behind your bumper, and the potential for restrictive airflow behind OEM bumpers or OEM mounting points. Luckily, with the track cars such as the S15, you generally have more flexibility with regards to location of your intercooler, your radiator, and your oil cooler. Each of my previous S15 builds were all running the radiator in the front, with the oil cooler sitting externally to the chassis rails due to the limited room, with a front-mounted radiator and a front-mounted intercooler. The intercooler has always been in the same location, and that will not change unless for some insane reason someone says, go back to an SR20. The biggest change I committed to when rebuilding my current S15 platform was to change things up and relocate the radiator to the rear of the car. My personal reasons for moving the radiator to the back of the S15 were not only for performance, but also functionality, accessibility, and also aesthetics. I could list 1 million reasons why I think it would be a great move to shift the radiator to the back. 1. The water volume. Having the radiator in the rear of the car allows you to hold more coolant in the vehicle. Whether it's coolant or oil, having a larger volume of fluid stored in the vehicle allows the coolant to cool down faster and heat up slower. Number 2. Heat and heat soak. By removing another high heat component from the front of the car, i.e. the radiator, this naturally means less heat is trapped in the engine bay, which has many positive results in a high horsepower application, especially in these damn hot Aussie summers. Number 3. Driving performance. Looking at the car from an overall handling perspective, having more weight over the back of the vehicle also improves the overall balance of the car, especially when you upgrade the size of the engine in the front from an SR20 for an example to a heavier 2JZ. When relocating the radiator, you also have the option of installing a larger cooling system that can hold more water. So not only are you moving the 15 to 20 kilogram mass of the radiator from the front of the car to the rear of the car, but you're also opening up opportunities to install a bigger, more effective cooling system. Number 4, airflow. Having the radiator in the rear of the car also allows for more airflow to pass through the radiator and cool it down. This is achieved by having a simple ducting system or large open area that will allow enough airflow to pass through. Whether you are drifting sideways or you're in close proximity to another high heat vehicle, you are always assured maximum airflow with the rear mount radiator setup. Moving on to number 5, access to the front of your engine. In a comp setting, drivers might need full access to the motor within minutes. So relocating a bulky item such as a radiator from the front of the car to the rear of the car makes adjustments, engine repairs, or even engine removal that much easier. That is a big yes from me. Lastly, number 6, aesthetics. Simple answer, how good is it being able to see the motor that you have invested so much time and money into making it look as presentable as possible? So when it comes to choosing the right parts for your vehicle, there are a few things that you need to consider. My car, for example, runs the Rad Industries mechanical water pump delete that my bros Ben and Troy Jenkins from New Zealand hooked up for me. This completely removes the OEM water pump system and replaces it with a really neat billet alternator bracket that allows you to adjust the belt tension that is needed. It also has a -16 female water fitting that allows you to connect directly to the water system in the motor using an aftermarket coolant hose of your choice. As you can see here, we also have a small tank sitting on the side of the 2JZ cylinder head. This is a custom-made header tank that I got from Benny Jenkins in New Zealand, which allows you to fill your coolant from the front of the motor. We don't actually bleed anything from this end. We fill the tank to the top and jack the back of the car up so that you can then fill and bleed from the rear of the vehicle. To move the coolant from the motor to the radiator, these -16 lines run from the header tank and from the billet water pump delete down to the custom-made feed and return alloy tubes on the underside of the car. I was considering running flexible -16 line the whole way. However, the main reason we went with a thicker alloy tube was because it's stronger and it gives more protection against damage from debris or any undercar contact that could result in a leak or mechanical failure. Now at the very rear of the vehicle, we have the major components of the cooling system. With the water pump system, we are running a Davies Craig EWP 150 and bracket. which you can purchase directly from the Sparesbox website. I'll also attach the link to the bottom of this video with a discount code so you guys can check it out. There are a few benefits in running the EWP 150 electric system. Firstly, the electric water pump is no longer driven by the engine. That means there are less turning parts at the front of the car, and now I only need to run a single belt to the alternator as everything is now removed or electric, including the power steering. The electric water pump can be controlled by the Nexus R5 Haltech ECU system that I currently run in the car, and you can also use any of the Haltech Elite Series ECUs as well. Having the ECU control the water pump allows it to act as a thermostat and lets the engine heat up without flow. So once at operating temperature, the water pump starts pumping the water around the car and cooling down the system. Lastly, the major component in the back of the car is the Phoenix Track Series radiator. Now this is a 60mm thick triple core alloy body, and it is the biggest and best for universal applications in touring cars, race cars and even drift cars. Having a large and efficient radiator in the back of the car plays a big role in keeping the coolant temperatures down and flowing efficiently. So the team at Phoenix have organised a discount code for you guys, and I highly recommend checking out their range. I'll drop the link and the code in the comments section below at the very end of this video. Next, Bruce from SPHQ designed a rear V-mounted ducting system that will allow us to install two Spal 16-inch fans. This system actually works so well that I've never actually even seen the second fan turn on, and it is another great feature of a rear-mounted system, as you can finally fit multiple large fans that will actually keep cooling the system. Moving over to the intercooler system in the car, we're running a Phoenix Pro Series 100mm intercooler supplied by Elwood Parts in New Zealand. This is a tube and fin design, which means it is lighter, more efficient and dissipates heat quicker. If you want to draw a direct comparison to a smaller intercooler that you would run in a street car, such as my 180SX, this is a 76mm thick bar and plate design, which is heavier in construction and tends to hold more heat. Both intercoolers work really well. However, it just comes down to what the application is, how much power you're pushing, or what level of boost pressure you're running into your motor. Finally, we've got a 28-row Phoenix oil cooler. When it comes to oil coolers, the bigger the better. In previous builds, I've placed the oil cooler outside the chassis rails, and this has become an issue when having a frontal impact. Now that the radiator is moved from the front to the rear, we finally have room to place the oil cooler in between the rails in a safe location. Another thing to keep in mind is the airflow or the flow path to the oil cooler. Now that the radiator has been removed and there's no longer fans in the front of the car, there is no airflow passing through the front of the vehicle when stationary. So to help out, we've placed a small 8-inch fan on the back of the cooler to keep airflow up in between battles or also when stationary. Last but not least, a few key things to focus on when relocating your cooling system in your car. Number 1, don't enclose your boot. You want the air to pass over the top of your car and be able to exit the rear of the car easily. Number 2, get yourself a large, good quality radiator, such as the Phoenix Track Series radiator that I currently have in the S15. Number 3, big fans to pull through that air when you're not moving. Very important. Lastly, number 4, make sure you choose the correct size intercooler and oil cooler for your application. So guys, that brings us to the end of this build breakdown part 3. For any questions you may have, please leave a comment below and I will do my very best to try and help. If you would like to see more of this content, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Guys, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys at the very next build breakdown video. Bye bye.